And Charles says, I've sold myself short most of life and suffered from low self esteem. And that has led to numbing myself with drugs and alcohol or sex. And I'm a recovering people pleaser. First of all, I have chills all over my body. Thank you. Thank you for really speaking your truth. Let's take a moment and just acknowledge Charles for that. Because that's amazing. Because I don't know anybody on the planet who hasn't done it. And you are brave enough and wise enough to speak it.
And being vulnerable, even with ourselves, right? To admit to ourselves that we are responsible for what we've done to ourselves and to others. And I wanted to follow that up with the self-worth piece. Because when we talk about self-care and we talk about investing in ourselves, whether it's time or money, resources, whatever that looks like, a lot of times the reason that we treat ourselves with disregard, or we don't think that we deserve to be put first, whether it's by ourselves or someone else, it's because at our core, we don't think we're worthy of it. So we don't think we're worthy of love. We don't think we're worthy of priority. We don't think we're worthy of being invested in. We look around us and we see other people and we compare ourselves, what we know about ourselves, to what we see about someone else. And those two things are very, very different. Because, first of all, most of the time, most of what we see of someone else is only what they want us to see. Yes. Most of our society, I would say, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say most, is not like Charles, that will be vulnerable, that will speak up in a public forum and say, hey, this is what I've done. I have not respected myself. I have disregarded myself. I did not think I was worthy. And this is what I've done. And now I know better. And now I choose different. Most of our society wants us to believe the fairy tale, right? That they have these, quote, perfect little lives. They will let you see certain things. A lot of it is to get feedback. A lot of it is to get support from others when they feel they need it or want it. But most of the time, it's only what they want you to see. And honestly, I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with that. I don't go putting my dirty laundry out on social media. If I'm having a heart-to-heart discussion with someone, I'm not going to mask who I truly am. But I am a person that doesn't let everyone into that point. And so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying when we compare ourselves to others, we have to understand what we're comparing to. We're comparing who we know ourselves to be, and we see it all, right? For the most part, we see the flaws. And a lot of times, some of us see the flaws more than we see the good. And we are comparing it to a perfect Cinderella life that someone decides that you get to see. And so it's not apples to apples. So it comes down to knowing what you're worthy of. And it all goes back to going straight to source, to know that you are worthy and you don't have to do anything. And you don't have to be anyone than who you are in order to be worthy, because you are worthy. You were born worthy, and you did not become not worthy by doing, what you might consider to be bad things. You are still worthy, and you will always be worthy.
Yeah, and I want to second that, right? Because Charles, when I heard God talking to me, I was nearly dead on my couch, and I was 235 pounds and filled with toxins, and I still heard him. So I was worthy, wasn't I? I was worthy of his word.
Absolutely.
And so I know that, there's a couple of people on here I've talked to before about hearing God. God is or infinite incorruptible source, Jesus Christ, I want you to use the words that are comfortable for you. So insert the word you need, right? Because we're talking about the highest power in the universe. But a lot of people have said to me, there was a man who I used to work for decades ago, and I spoke to him the other day, like about a couple weeks ago. And I told him I hear God. And he said, well, that's just amazing. Not many people can say that. And I replied, interestingly enough, almost everybody I walk around with can say that. So if you're struggling with part of this meditation prayer and you're getting yourself in a meditative state and you're asking for what you want in the direction, but you're not hearing, both Michelle and I can help you hear. We can help you have the discernment about what hearing is and know who you're hearing, because it's a feeling as much as it shows up differently for all of us. And both Michelle and I know exactly what those ways are. And you really want to have discernment about your hearing. Like, this is a big thing. I stopped listening in 2019 because I wasn't sure who was talking to me. And I said, yeah, no. As a Christ follower, I was like, yeah, if it ain't him or one of his angels, not going there. And so until I could do that, I stopped. And and Michelle's got her morning meditation here. We're going to share that. So if you're listening and you are wanting to learn how to hear God and recognize the signs and recognize the voice and the feeling, then either Michelle or I can help you. So now Chris says, and I'm coming back to your other comment, Charles. I'm not done with you. I'm going to go in the order we have it. She says self-worth is huge, and it involves acceptance on many levels. And then she says, just to be comfortable in our own skin is quite a success. Oh, yeah, because we're judged. You can be seen but not heard. That's crappy, right? And then Charles, okay, as human beings searching for a purpose, we ask the oldest question known to mankind: why am I here? I'm going to go first on this one, Michelle, and then I'll let you go. And why am I here? When you learn to hear God, you'll know exactly why you're here. He will tell you how He wants you to serve Him. And then you will never judge yourself again. And actually, I'm going to go on the record and say, I will promise you that. I promise you, you will stop judging yourself and you can start to hear God. Because His word is undeniable. And you will just follow what He tells you to do because you know He's got your back. And you're not going to listen to someone who says, well, that seems, and then fill in the blank, right? Their judgment doesn't matter. You will stand tall because you've aligned yourself with the most powerful source in the universe. Michelle, go ahead. Why am I here?
I have learned for myself that purpose doesn't necessarily have to be one thing. And it doesn't have to be the same thing throughout our lives. Because we chose this human experience to learn and grow, and for many other reasons. And throughout the human experience, we learn on a human level. So, we're educated, and then we learn through, we're educated by experience and schooling and, upbringing and all of these things. So throughout our human journey, our purpose can change. And there are some people, though, that their purpose was clear from the first time that they actually even asked themselves that question. And that could be when they were very young. And that's wonderful. And yet, I would say don't be discouraged if you are later in life and you haven't figured that out yet. There is still so much time. There is still so much time. And you are so worthy. And if you are still here, which if you're listening to this, you are, you have purpose. And connecting to source through prayer or meditation, listening and watching for synchronicities, really tuning into yourself and what brings you joy. An interesting thing came up in a reading that I was doing yesterday for a client. The message came out that she was to follow the joy. So the message was, she wanted to know, one of the questions was, which direction should I go? I've got kind of all of these things up in the air. And the message that came through was, do what brings you joy. Mm-hmm. And joy is different than happiness. Again, I'm going to say that. Joy is deep in your soul, and I believe that it's given by God, by the divine.
Yeah, I agree.
And you can possess joy, and you can be joyous even in the depths of despair, even in the depths of health journeys, difficulties financially, relationally, all of that. You can still have joy. And so the message was follow the joy. So finding and listening to what your own guidance system is telling you. And in order to do that, you have to be in touch with it. And I'm going to say this too, you don't even have to, quote, believe in God, because the fact of the matter is it's inside of us. And our own guidance system was given to us divinely. And it is what we are wired to have, those gut feelings, to feel with our bodies. Our body is a huge indicator of when things are right and when things are not right. probably all of us have experienced, walking outside, maybe somewhere at night, or walking into a room and something just doesn't feel right. It's like, something's off here. I need to get out of this place, right? Or walking into a home. I used to be a real estate broker, and I would, show people houses, and they would walk in, and some they would say, it just doesn't feel right. Or then they would walk in, like in the front door, we haven't even seen the kitchen, and they'd be like, this is it. This is the one, right? Because there's a certain feeling, there's a certain energy, there's a certain something in you that says this is right, or
Heart is warm.
not right. Pardon?
Their heart is warm.
Yeah, and it's their guidance system telling them it's either right or it's not. So whether you put a name on the entity or the person or whatever, you still have it. You still have an inner guidance system. So follow that and learn to trust yourself, because it will not fail you.
It will never.
It will not fail you.
Well, it was interesting, because Charles said Jeremiah 24:7, so I looked it up and I showed it while you were speaking. It says, I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord. They will be my people, and I will be their God, for they will return to me with all their heart. And what Fagla talks about on every show is starting with heart, right? And how you know that you're making the right decision is you feel it in your heart. It's all about being heart-centered. When you can feel it, and if your heart feels off balance, don't do it. Put on the pause button. So Charles says, thank you. Thank you. Says, you are a child of God, Jodi, made solely unique and loved beyond comprehension.
True.
Thank you. Okay, don't make me cry. It would be an ugly cry this morning, so don't do that.